And great to be joined right now by Mike Miedler, who is president and CEO of Century 21. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Dan, really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. So when you think about, the real estate industry as a whole starting out this new year, where's the focal point for you? Because it's obviously been a very interesting sector to watch play out, especially over the last 2 years, impacted by the pandemic.
Yeah, Dan, it's been a wild sprint, as we all know, for the last 2 years. I mean, you look at any statistic in the marketplace, and it's setting record highs for prices, record lows for inventory. I think we're going to see a little bit of a leveling here, as obviously, the Fed and Fannie and Freddie and NAR all predict, mortgage rates are going to do nothing but go in the upward direction, which I think will cool the way that, prices have really kind of been almost out of control at this point, 117 months in a row of median price increase in this country. But I do really see a very strong and healthy housing market. We just had what I would call record velocity, 6.24 million homes in 2021, which is, the largest we've seen in quite some time, five plus years. And so I think inventory, as we all know, is the key kind of issue that we're dealing with. And that's because so many people are interested in real estate right now for so many different reasons.
So let me go back for a second, because then if we know that interest rates, whether it be March, April, whatever that window is that the Fed, starts to impact interest rates, and then we see mortgage rates impacted as well, is it possible that we may see an earlier spring rush because people want to get in before the rates start to increase?
We have seen people coming in and there is no cyclicality anymore, Dan. I feel like in the last 24 months, right? I mean, people have been constant in the marketplace, even over the holidays. And, with the start of January, we had pending inventory and pendings and active listings still in a great spot from what they, generally are in the January timeframe. So I do think it's going to remain consistent. I think the big issue, like I said, is where the inventory is going to come from. I feel like we're going to create a little bit more inventory as hopefully this pandemic loosens up a little bit in the spring months, and you've got, maybe some of the mortgage forbearance will shake out and create a little bit more inventory out there. But, that's really what our focus is on here as a real estate industry.
So what's it been like for you and Century 21 over the last couple of years in terms of, dealing with all the ups and downs that this pandemic has provided?
Yeah, no, it was really crazy when I look back, to March or April of 2020 and kind of where we shook out to today. Nobody would have thought we are where we're at. But I mean, if you truly look at the macroeconomics here in this country, and I tell it to our real estate community all the time, like, we are in for a very sustainable, long housing marathon. And it's the fact that we've, underbuilt in this country for a decade, the amount of household formations that we're seeing. I mean, I use this statistic all the time, but from 2012 to 2021, there were 12 million new household formations in the country, and we only built 7 million single-family homes. In fact, right. The National Association of Builders is saying that we're, still behind from where we should be as far as home starts are concerned. But this is a more striking, kind of issue that I think, because construction, inflation, all those things that are prohibiting builders from putting stuff in the ground and getting homes built, the industry needs to add 740,000 workers a year to make up for retirement and just the general growth in the industry. And, you compound that with the amount of, these large generations and millennials and Gen Z that are coming into this country and want their share of the American dream. And, we're just behind on being able to provide affordable housing for people.
Well, and I think then that brings up the question of where those new homes are going to be built, because the pandemic obviously sent a lot of people out of the bigger cities and to the suburbs. And in many cases with work from home, people are looking for, that perfect location, that house on the lake, whatever it might be, where they can have that property and they can work from home. So that's a dynamic that I think is going to be a very interesting element to see how the housing sector, builds out homes in the future.
Absolutely. And we're seeing a lot of strength, as you probably already know, in the South and the Southeast, where you've got better tax and better weather destinations. And to your point, right. This phenomenon of work from home, right? I mean, I think the number was like around 20% of people before the pandemic it spiked to 70+% of people were working from home. And we did a survey of our people, not just here in the U.S., but around the globe. And, we're finding that 54% of people want to continue to work from home in some form or fashion. So I think we're going to rethink, what shelter means to us as a global economy and as individuals. And we're certainly seeing that shake out, and people, as you mentioned, going all over the place. They don't have to be, 30-minute commute or on the train line from, the central business district anymore.
So is the South still the hot area right now in regards to home sales, home building in the country?
It is. It absolutely has been, literally for the last year. If you look at kind of the statistics you see coming out from NAR, obviously the Floridas, the Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, some really, as you mentioned, suburbs or exurbs really that, weren't kind of on the shiny list 2-3 years ago, are really popping up as major destinations for people because of those things I mentioned, the taxes specifically and lifestyle.
The other thing I wanted to bring up with you is how, from an operational perspective, this pandemic has impacted your company or industry, because we know that the real estate industry was adjusting to digital and adding, different components and different content pieces into the mix prior to the pandemic. But it seems like a lot of businesses, that digital component really was accelerated in the last 2 years.
You nailed it, Dan. In fact, I just look at real estate is really kind of wonky because if you look at it, technology and the way that business is done and completed, even legally, and because it's a highly regulated industry, is a little bit different in every state. And sometimes it varies from county to county. Remote online notarization, which I joke around about, just got popular and exciting and literally was passed in some states. It's still not even passed in California, I believe, but literally in the middle of the pandemic, like probably so many, I refied my house in the state of New Jersey. And I had to literally in person sign in the backyard in the middle of the winter with somebody coming into my yard, a loan officer, to witness and verify it. But, now New Jersey and many other states have adopted things like remote online notarization. I think we've, as a real estate industry, gotten a lot more effective and efficient and really have provided a better experience for the consumer, which in my mind, that's what it's all about. We've got to be better for our consumers. They get a great experience, and they're going to want to, get in and whether it's buy a second home or maybe transact more frequently because it's not the stressful, transaction that they're used to hearing or knowing about in the real estate industry. So I think
that element of giving the consumer the best experience possible that we hear about a lot in retail, that plays out in real estate as well.
I mean, I think it plays out everywhere, right? I mean, there's no space where you can't put the customer ultimately right in the middle of and really recognize and realize what they want. I say this all the time. There's 180 different steps in the process, from literally the time that people find a home on their mobile phone to what a real estate agent is doing to help them get to the closing table, give them the keys, and deliver that dream of home ownership. And they've got to navigate a lot, and they've got to make, every step of the way a great experience for people. Because I'll be honest, real estate it always is synonymous with a stressful point in people's life when they're buying or selling a home. And I think that's what the great real estate professionals do. They eliminate that through whether it's technology or just good old-fashioned customer service.
Last question for you, and it's twofold. 2022, what are home buyers thinking? What are home sellers thinking?
Well, I think there's a lot of pent-up demand, as I mentioned earlier, just because of the amount of folks who are sitting on the sidelines who made 2, 3, 4, 10 offers over the last 24 months and haven't been able to get into the market or haven't been able to get that home of their dreams. I think you're going to continue to see that. I think home sellers will continue to believe that this is a seller's market, and certainly it is. There's a lot of power in their hands. I think they've got to, recognize that their home's got to be ready to move, and they want to make sure that they declutter it and don't, put a lot of, mess around the house. And I think homes will move as quickly as they have. We're seeing things still fly off the shelves from the time they're listed to the time they go pending. And, literally 18 days, a typical home goes pending in this country. So on top of that, I think for home buyers, and I say this all the time, obviously be pre-qualified, know what you can afford. Don't spend 30% of your take-home income on a home, but be ready and know that interest rates are going to climb a little bit, but there's still a ton of purchase power in your pocket right now with where interest rates are at. They're still generational lows, and if you work with a great real estate professional who knows the market, you can get into something.
Mike, great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate the opportunity, Dan. Take care, man.
Thank you. Mike Miedler, President and CEO of Century 21.